Verse 6 in Psalm 109 begins the anathema part of the psalm, when he prays to God, "Set a wicked man over him, and let an accuser," that is Satan, "stand at his right hand." Of course, our Bible identifies Satan as the chief accuser. This commences the imprecatory part of the psalm, extending to verse 20. To imprecate means to invoke or to call down evil or curses upon a person. The Mosaic law had anticipated false accusations and malicious witness by decreeing that the false accuser was to be given the punishment intended for the accused. The first thing that the psalmist asks is that his foe might be subjected to the same sort of evil by having a wicked man placed over him, one that has a corrupt mindset like the prince of the dark domain himself, a man with no regard for justice, truth, or righteousness. That is a person who would have no respect for the accuser's character and the propriety and propriety than more propriety than the accuser had for himself. Deuteronomy 19:16 through 21. If a malicious witness testifies against someone accusing him of a crime, the two people in the dispute must stand in the presence of the Lord and before the priest and judges in authority at that time. The judges are to make a careful investigation, and if the witness turns out to be a liar who falsely accused his brother, you must do to him as he intended to do to his brother. You must purge the evil from you. Then everyone else will hear and be afraid, and they will never again do anything evil like this among you. You must not show pity, for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. It would appear that David had this section of the law in mind, both here and in verses 26 and 29. Thus his imprecations are not simply malicious malfeasance, but rather are a call for justice according to the law. Their inevitable fate is set. These severe words have to do with the consequences of impenitent and hard-hearted enemies of God and heavenly justice. It cannot be wrong that a person should be treated as they treat others, and it cannot be in itself wrong to desire that a man should be treated according to his character and the deserved recompenses. For this is the object of the law, and this is what all magistrates and legislators endeavor to secure. Jesus, the living Word, brings this principle into the gospel when he was questioned by the religious leaders of his day in Matthew 22:36 through 40. They said, "Teacher, which command in the law is the greatest?" And he said to them, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands." If we love and treat our neighbor in the same manner that we desire to be treated, then the inverse of this principle of an eye for an eye holds true. We will be loved. We desire to be loved as we love. David seems to have in mind a particular person or someone who had occupied a position of trust in reference to himself, like Ahithophel, but who had betrayed his trust, who had given him crafty and malignant counsel, who had led him into bad measures, who had used his position to promote his own interests and self-interest at the expense of his master's. Perhaps this passage also is prophetic of Haman in Esther 3:1, who was hung on his own gallows.